Good morning, students. Let's continue the previous topic, that is non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So in my previous class, I already explained about introduction to the NSAIDs and also the importance and the mnemonic to remember what are NSAIDs. Okay. So if you are not go through it, please go through my previous video in my channel. Okay. Let's continue the NSAIDs, that is classification. The classification of NSAIDs. Okay, so NSAIDs, they are divided into four types. Okay, they are divided into four types, and the first one is non-selective COX inhibitors. Non-selective COX inhibitors, that means they are not selectively inhibiting either COX-1 or COX-2 enzymes. They are inhibiting the both the enzymes non-selectively. Okay, so each drug has different capacity of binding to the COX-1 and COX-2 inhibition. Okay, but non-selectively, these all the drugs are inhibiting the non-selectively COX inhibitor, the COX enzyme and COX-1 and also the COX-2 enzymes. Okay, so non-selective COX inhibitors are aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen, ketoprofen, and ferbiprofen, mefenamic acid, piroxicam, indomethacin, and phenylbutazone. Okay, so all these drugs which inhibit the COX enzymes non-selectively. Okay, the idea how the prostaglandin synthesis and the COX enzymes will synthesize from which pathway. Okay, the pathophysiology. So when you learn the pathophysiology, so it will be very easy to learn about the mechanism of action of NSAIDs. Okay, not only NSAIDs, in any drug, whether you are studying any drug in the pharmacology, any class of drug, you must know about the pathophysiology of disease. So you can answer to the mechanism of action of drugs. Okay. Yes, aspirin. So aspirin, ibuprofen, naproxen, ketoprofen, flurbiprofen, mefenamic acid, piroxicam, indomethacin, all these drugs comes under non-selective inhibitors. Non-selective inhibitors. Okay. So non-selective inhibitors, what they will do? They'll inhibit the enzyme, the COX-1. Okay, let's talk about mechanism about later in detail. But here I will give a brief introduction about the mechanism of action. Okay, so a shortcut, like, so here non-selective COX inhibitors, it will inhibit the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, both the enzymes. Okay, it inhibit both the enzymes. So that's why we are selecting non-selective. It selectively it is not inhibiting any either COX-1 or COX-2. Non-selectively it is inhibiting the both the enzymes, that is COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. Okay. So if you go back to the pathophysiology, that is, let's recap that. So in the pathophysiology, so how when the cell get inflamed, okay, when your tissue is inflamed, the tissue is undergone to inflammation, so that it releases phospholipids. The phospholipids secretes lipolipase A2 enzyme. Okay, the lipolipase A2 enzymes will form arachidonic acid. That arachidonic acid involves in the two pathways, right? Arachidonic acid involved in the two pathways. One is cyclooxygenase pathway and other one is lipoxygenase pathway. From the cyclooxygenase pathway, the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes will synthesize. Okay, and when the COX-1, COX-2 will form from the arachidonic acid, this COX-1 and COX-2 leads to the formation of PGG2, that is prostaglandin G2. And again, in presence of peroxidase enzyme, this prostaglandin leads to formation of the PGE2. Okay, PGH2 is the precursor. From the precursor, it leads to formation of PGE2 and PGF2 alpha. Okay, and thromboxane A2, that is TXA2, and PGD2 and prostacyclin I2. Okay, that is PGI2. Okay, so all the substances will form. So you know what happened when the prostaglandin synthesis will increases. And the prostaglandin synthesis will, the COX enzymes and prostaglandin synthesis from the arachidonic acid will increases. What happened when the substances will form from the precursor of arachidonic acid? What happens next? It leads to the production of what? It leads to the production of pain, fever. Okay, it leads to produces a pain, fever, inflammation, and also it increases the renal blood flow and it protects the gastric mucosa. Okay, protects gastric mucosa mainly PGE2. Okay, the PGE2 is protects the gastric mucosa and also produces pain, fever. Okay, and the vasodilation. These are the effects. So when you inhibit this COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, okay, when you inhibit this COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, the prostaglandin synthesis will be decreased. Okay, so the COX-1 and COX-2, both the enzymes will be inhibited by the non-selective COX inhibitors wherever the COX enzymes are present in the CNS and in all the peripheral uh, COX presence. Okay, in the CNS and in the other regions of peripheral regions, the COX enzymes will be inhibited. Okay, so that it leads to a decrease of PGG2 and PGH2 and which are formed by the precursor PGH2. All these are decreases. So when this decreases, what happens? The opposite action when what you seen in the pathophysiology. So now what happens? So it will be when the prostaglandin synthesis is decreases, when the COX enzymes are inhibited by the non-selective inhibitors, it leads to the decrease of pain, decrease of inflammation. Okay, decrease of pain, decrease of inflammation, decrease of fever. Yes, decrease of fever. And also decreases vasodilation. Okay, vasodilation is decreases vasodilation, decreases renal blood flow, and it also decreases the gastric mucosa protection. So due to decrease of gastric mucosa protection, what happens? It leads to the gastric irritation or peptic ulcer. This may be adverse effect of the non-selective COX inhibitor. Okay, this is the adverse effect of non-selective COX inhibitor, that is it decreases, it's also decreasing the protection mechanism, right? Protection mechanism of gastric mucosa, so that it leads to the what happened? So that the gastric mucosa protection is inhibited, that is the gastric mucosa protection is inhibited, that leads to the irritation of gastric mucosa. Okay, yes, this is about, I said I only explain about brief introduction, but I already explain in detail. But if I say orally, you can't understand. I will draw the flow chart one by one. No worry. Yes, next one, the preferential COX-2 inhibitors. The preferential COX-2 inhibitors are diclofenac, aciclofenac, and also the meloxicam, etodolac. Okay. So these are the four drugs comes under preferential COX-2 inhibitors. In the preferential COX-2 inhibitors, they'll inhibit both the enzymes like as non-selective COX inhibitors, but the only difference is preferential COX-2. Okay, preferential COX-2. That means it inhibits COX-1 weakly. Okay, it has weak inhibition of COX-1 and strongly inhibit the COX-2 enzyme. So that's why we call it as preferential COX-2. It prefers to block the COX-2 enzyme. Okay, the drugs under the preferential COX-2 are diclofenac, aciclofenac, and meloxicam, etodolac. Okay, the diclofenac is mostly nowadays it is used for the rheumatoid arthritis. The next, selective COX-2 inhibitors. Here they are selectively, unlike non-selective COX inhibitors and preferential COX-2 inhibitors. So these selective COX-2 inhibitors are selectively blocking the COX-2 enzymes. Okay, they're selectively blocking the COX-2 enzyme so that which are causes. So here there is a less chances of adverse effects as compared with the non-selective COX and preferential COX-2 inhibitors. So the protective mechanism here is reserved. It's not risk of gastric mucosa here. Okay. So because it is only blocking the COX-2. So for why I am saying this, because COX-1 and COX-2. Okay. The COX-1 and COX-2. The COX-1 is responsible for increasing the protection of gastric mucosa. Okay, protection of gastric mucosa, and which also increases the renal blood flow. And increases vasodilation, which increases vasodilation, which increases gastric mucosa, which also increases renal blood flow. Okay, and the COX-2, which produces pain, inflammation, and fever, allergic reactions, all is produced by the COX-2. Okay, so this is the difference between COX-1 and COX-2, so that you can understand why I am said here selective COX-2 inhibitors has less chances of risk of gastric mucosa irritation. Why? Because the COX-1 is responsible for protection of gastric mucosa. We are not inhibiting the COX-1, we are only inhibiting the COX-2 enzyme here. These selective drugs, the selective inhibitors are only blocking the COX-2 enzyme. So there is a less or no risk of gastric mucosal irritation. Okay. So the drugs comes under selective COX-2 inhibitors or celecoxib and etoricoxib and parecoxib. Okay. Yes. So next, the last group of drugs in the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, that is antipyretic with poor anti-inflammatory effect. Antipyretic. What is antipyretic? That is against to the fever. Yes, which is used to treat pyretic. Okay, that is which is used to treat the fever. Those drugs called as antipyretic. You know already. This is the very basic thing. Yes. So antipyretic drugs, why all these drugs are anti-inflammatory, NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, but why these antipyretic drugs has poor anti-inflammatory effect? Why? Because the antipyretic drugs, which are acetaminophen, metamizole, propionate, and also the nifopam, all these drugs only blocking the COX enzyme, both the enzymes, COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, only in the CNS. Okay, that is specifically in the hypothalamus, not in the peripheral regions. Okay, so there are other regions, the COX enzymes located in the COX-1 and COX-2. In those regions, they are not willing to block here. Okay, the antipyretics are only blocked at the CNS regions. Okay, specifically hypothalamus region. You already know hypothalamus is maintains the homeostasis, right? So so when the hypothalamus is maintained the homeostasis, that is, so it produces the heat, so that the temperature will be elevated. The fever and other, all the balance, all the body is maintained by the hypothalamus by secreting the endocrine glands. Yes, and also acting with the nervous system. You already know this point, but here it is a major, this is a major point that you have to remember, that is the antipyretics are blocking only at the blocking COX enzyme only at CNS, blocking COX 1 and 2 only at the CNS, not in the peripheral regions. Okay, so that it has a weak anti-inflammatory effect. It is not completely, no, it not touches, no, it will block, but it will block very little, partial. It has very weak effect. Okay, it has very weakly block the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. Okay, weakly block COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. When it weakly blocked, so that formed by the prostaglandin G2. Prostaglandin G2 formation is only decreases, a very little amount of prostaglandin G2 formation is decreases. So that the PGH2, which is derived from the prostaglandin G2, that might be decreases in very low. Okay. So the what are the substances which are found by the PGH2? Prostaglandin H2, which are found by this precursor, those the substances like thromboxane A2 and prostacyclin I2. Okay, that is PGI2, or else PGF2 alpha and PGD2. Okay, all these substances are only a little amount, okay, not as maximum like non-selective preferential COX-2 are not inhibiting as much as the COX enzymes, as much as these drugs, okay, as much as these drugs, these COX select non antipyretic drugs will not decreases or not blocking as much strong, okay, so they are only has a weakest blocking of COX enzymes in the peripheral regions, but strongly it is blocking in the CNS region so that the temperature will be suppressed. So that means the temperature will be decreases, so your fever will be reduces. The fever is reduces. So in this, what are the pharmacological effect in the antipyretic with poor anti-inflammatory effect? So even the antipyretic with poor anti-inflammatory effect is also less risk of gastric mucosa and hemorrhage because it is only blocking at the COX enzymes in hypothalamus of CNS, right? So this is also a very important point you have to remember here. So the COX enzyme is only blocking in the CNS. So there is no adverse effects, no major adverse effects in the antipyretic. Okay, all these drugs are well tolerated, but some has. So among these drugs, one drug is banned and that is very dangerous. Okay, so but except the drugs, all the antipyretic drugs are very tolerated unless they are used for prolonged time, okay, or else in higher doses. So normally, what are the normal adverse effects are nausea and vomiting, okay, in sensitive patients, okay, if they are used in a higher, not as therapeutic doses, okay, if the dose is increases, okay, if the patient take the highest dose for the fastest recovery, so what happens? So it leads to the hepatotoxicity when the dose increases. In therapeutic level, it not causes any major adverse effect. It is well tolerated, but unless it increases the dose, all the therapeutic doses of these drugs are well tolerated. Okay, so when it increases the high dose, so increases the patient take the high dose for the fastest recovery. It leads to the hepatotoxicity. Okay. Not only for high dose, for the prolonged time, usage of these antipyretic drugs from the prolonged usage, okay, for long usage, it leads to the hepatotoxicity and also renal acute failure, that is very rare, not common. Okay. So I said one thing about from the drugs, that is a very important adverse effect and that is banned in our India and most of other countries. Okay. So what is the drug? That is metamizole. Okay. Metamizole is banned. Why the metamizole is banned in India? The metamizole has an adverse effect, a severe adverse effect, that is agranulocytosis. That is agranulocytosis. What is agranulocytosis? Agranulocytosis, that is decreased synthesis of granulocytes, especially neutrophils. Yes. So what happens when the neutrophils are suppressed? The neutrophils, first we have to know what is the function of neutrophils. The neutrophils are neutrophils are helpful in the fighting of antigens. It helpful in the fighting with the foreign particle or with the antigen, right? So when the neutrophils are decreases by the agranulocytosis risk, okay, the neutrophils are decreased, so it lost the body lost the capability of fighting with the infections, so it neutralizes the body. So to neutralizes the body, they don't have capacity to fight with the antigen. So due to this major adverse effect of agranulocytosis risk of metamizole, this drug is banned in the India and some other drugs in the country and in the world. Okay. So this is the major adverse effect of metamizole. You have to remember, and the remaining all the drugs have no major adverse effects because all they are well tolerated. And acetaminophen, you already know acetaminophen we commonly use for the fever, that is paracetamol. Yes. So these are the classification of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, and let's discuss in the flow chart wise of about all the mechanism of these classes and the ADRs. Again, I already discussed, mentioned here ADRs. So we'll go once again. Non-selective COX inhibitors. The non-selective COX inhibitors, it inhibits both the enzyme, that is COX-1 and COX-2. COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, and the preferential COX-2 is also inhibits COX-1 weakly and COX-2 strongly. Okay, so and selective COX inhibitors, COX-2 it is. The selective COX-2 inhibitors will selectively inhibit only COX-2. Okay, and very less weakly. Okay, very less weakly it will inhibit the COX-1, and only in specific regions, no need, but more selectively it inhibits only COX-2. Okay, COX-2, and the antipyretic will also inhibit both the enzyme, that is COX-1 and the COX-2. COX-1 and COX-2. Okay, for antipyretic we'll read as a separate, as will not compare in these three, we'll read as a separate group here, so that it will better understand for you and it will very easy to interpret your data in your brain. Okay, so the non-selective COX inhibitors, it inhibits both the enzyme COX-1 and COX-2. When the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes are get inhibited, it leads to the decreased formation of prostaglandin G2, right? And which leads to the decrease of prostaglandin H2. When the prostaglandin H2 increases, the precursor of PGH2, PGH2 is a precursor and responsible for the formation of other prostaglandin synthesis. So those substances is also decreases. The first one is PGE2, and the next prostacyclin. Okay, prostacyclin I2 and thromboxane A2, TXA2, and also prostaglandin F2 alpha, and one more thing, that is PGD2. Okay, PGD2. So all these substances which are found by the precursor PGH2 are decreased. Okay, why they are decreasing? They are decreased due to the inhibition of COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. So when the tissue get inflamed, okay, when the tissue get inflamed, it will produce the impresence of COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes will secrete from the arachidonic acid. When the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes secrete, it leads to the synthesis of all the prostaglandins, right? All the different types of prostaglandin synthesis. So when this happens, it happens when the tissue gets inflammation. Okay, so when you give a non-selective inhibitors, NSAIDs, to the patient who are exposed to the inflammation, what happened? It inhibits the COX-1 ion. It enters into the brain, which crosses the blood-brain barrier and which blocks all the wherever the COX enzymes will located. It blocks all the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. Okay, blocking the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes. The non-NSAID drugs is blocking the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes where it is located. Okay, wherever the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes are located at all the regions. So the non-NSAIDs, non-selective NSAIDs are blocking COX-1 and COX-2, which leads to a decrease of PGG2, and that leads to the decrease of PGH2, and that leads to a decrease of PGE2 and PGI2 and thromboxane A2, and also PGF2 alpha and PGD2. Okay, all these substances are decreases. So the patient is, for the patient, reduces of, decreases of, or reduces pain, right? Inflammation. By reducing COX enzymes and the prostaglandin synthesis, it reduces the pain, inflammation, and fever. But there are some adverse effects, that is it protects the gastrum mucosa, right? So this PGE2 is protecting the prostaglandin synthesis, protecting the gastric mucosa, and which increases the renal blood flow. But here the gastric mucosa is not protecting here. Why? Because we are inhibiting the COX-1 and COX-2 and the no synthesis of are decreases. When the synthesis of all substances decreases, it also losing its protective mechanism, so that the gastric irritation will be a major adverse effect of non-selective inhibitors. Okay, gastric irritation or peptic ulcer and hemorrhage, because here the thromboxane and prostacyclin are involved in the platelet aggregation. So when the COX and COX-2 enzymes are blocked here, it also reduces the platelet aggregation. When the platelet aggregation is reduced, what happens? It leads to the hemorrhage, bleeding. Okay, it enhances the bleeding or reducing the by reducing the platelet aggregation of thromboxane A2 and prostacyclin. Okay, so that is also a adverse effects. Okay, next one is hemorrhage, increases the chances of bleeding. So these are the areas of non-selective inhibitors, and the same areas and the mechanism is for preferential COX-2, but it is only weakly, not as much strongly inhibiting as COX-2. It inhibits COX-1 weakly, and the most of the effects and strongly inhibiting the COX-2. Okay, COX-2 enzyme. So what happens? We give a preferential COX-2 inhibitor. So when the COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors to the patient, it will block the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, and all the prostaglandin synthesis secretion will be decreased. Okay, when the synthesis is decreased, the synthesis of prostaglandin is decreases, which leads to the decreasing of pain, inflammation, fever, and also there is a in the gastric mucosa irritation అనేది adverse effect here. And preferential COX-2 inhibitors లో కూడా gastric mucosa adverse effect ఉంటుంది, because we are blocking the COX-1 enzyme. Okay, we are blocking the COX-1 enzyme, so here there is a chances of adverse effect of gastric mucosa irritation or peptic ulcer. But here there are less chances as compared with the non-selective, because it weakly blocking. Okay, here it is weakly blocking, so that here there are less chances of gastric mucosa. Okay, as compared to there is the gastric mucosal irritation will happen here, it will occur as area, but as compared with the non-selective. Okay, I am comparing with the non-selective inhibitors. Comparing with the non-selective inhibitors, అంత ఎఫెక్ట్ అనేది ఇక్కడ ప్రిఫరెన్షియల్ COX-2 inhibitors లో ఉండదు. ఓకే, సో గెట్ ద పాయింట్. Gastric mucosa irritation, a peptic ulcer, and also hemorrhage. Okay, the same. The selective COX-2 inhibitors only block the COX-2 enzyme, so that here there is a less chances of gastric mucosa irritation risk and also the hemorrhage risk. Okay, less chances of gastric mucosa risk, and less chances for hemorrhage. And the last, that is antipyretic with poor anti-inflammatory effect. Okay, which inhibits both the enzyme COX-1 and COX-2, but specifically in where? In the hypothalamus of CNS. Okay, in the hypothalamus of CNS, and in the other regions, in other peripheral regions, it only has partial effect. So that due to that partial effect, it partially blocking the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes in the peripheral regions, it has anti-inflammatory effect, poor. Okay, it has a weak anti-inflammatory effect. But here, the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes are strongly blocking in where? In hypothalamus, right? So that the fever is reduces. Okay, the fever is reduces, and the pain is reduces, and also inflammation has a weak inflammation only. Okay, weak mild inflammation is reduces. Okay, Yes, fever, pain, mild inflammation. These are the effects which are reduced by the antipyretic drugs. Okay, so what are ADRs? What are the ADRs? The antipyretic drugs, acetaminophen, metamizole, propionate, niform, right? So all these drugs are well tolerated at the therapeutic dosage level. Okay, normal ADR are nausea and vomiting in the who are sensitive to the medications. Okay, who are very sensitive. Okay, so in that cases, so the nausea or vomiting will be take place. But except that there are no major effects. And even nausea and vomiting is also very minor effects. Okay, there are no major effects at therapeutic levels. If it increases the dose, if the patient take the high dose, okay, increases the dose, it leads to the hepatotoxicity. Increases the dose or using for the prolonged time, which leads to the hepatotoxicity and also the kidney acute failure or renal failure. Okay, so this will be a rare, not common condition. Okay, it is very rare. And the metamizole. So one thing about metamizole, that is the major ADR is agranulocytosis. Yes, agranulocytosis, that is decrease of granulocytosis, neutrophils, which lost the capability of fight with the antigen. So that the agranulocytosis is banned in India. Okay, so it is banned in India. It is banned in India for the human usage. It will be used for the toxicological studies, but for the human usage, for the usage of human, it is blocked in our India. Yes. So what are the uses? The uses of NSAID is it reducing the. So when you get the mechanism or pathophysiology, you will get everything. You will get everything. The major adverse effects and also the mechanism of action and uses. Yeah, pharmacological effects. Everything. When you understand the pathophysiology, you will know uh, all the mechanism, uses, pharmacological effects and ADRs of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Yes, and what are the uses? That is reducing pain. Okay, pain, that is acting as a anesthetic effect. Here, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs which are used as a anesthetic agents and also antipyretic agent, also acting as an antipyretic agent, that is reducing the fever, and anti-inflammatory mainly. Okay, mainly it block mainly by the synthesis, it blocking the prostaglandin synthesis. So by decreasing the prostaglandin synthesis and blocking the cyclooxygenase enzymes, it reduces the inflammation in the tissues. Okay, reduces the inflammation in the tissues. It also used for the rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, it is used for the rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis. Okay, these are the uses of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Okay, remember all the uses and all the mechanism. So first go through the introduction and pathophysiology in my last video. If you like this video, subscribe, like, and if you have any doubt in your mind, mention in the comment box.